December means 24 grams of whiskey in 24 days. I see 18 bottles over there that are half full, which means we're on day 19, which is in this Flaviar Advent Calendar box. We need to get that bottle out so we can start today's blind tasting. I've got the bottle for day 19. Let's do this. Welcome to Whisky Riffs. If you're new here, I'm Kevin, and thank you for stopping by and joining me in this 24-day series of blind tastings for the Flaviar Advent Calendar. I've got the bottle for day 19 in my hand here. I'm not going to look at the front of it because it's the country of origin where the whiskey has been produced, and that's part of the thing that I'm going to try to guess, but I'm happy to share this information with you. You can take a look at the label, if I'm holding it steady enough, and figure out what country that this whiskey's from before I even figure out what country this whiskey is from. After I'm done with the tasting, I'm going to look at the Flaviar Tasting Notes book and figure out what things I got right, what things got wrong, and a little bit more about the whiskey. This is a 50 milliliter bottle, which lets me pour half the whiskey in the glass for tasting. Right now it's blind tasting, and then save half for later when I'm ready to try the whiskey again and see if my opinion changes. Let's get going with day 19. I'm dying to find out if I'm going to get a whiskey right or wrong today. Ooh, some sweet notes right away. As with every day, I look at the color, but I try not to let that change my opinion too much about what the whiskey could be, because distilleries love to add caramel coloring to their whiskeys, but when it's a little bit lighter, sometimes that tells me something. This is a little darker, which could mean that there's just coloring added, or maybe it's a warmer climate. Why do I keep doing that? Well, maybe it's a warmer climate whiskey or something that has a finish to it. Now, I really thought I had caramel notes when I first put my nose in this. Now I'm getting a little bit of a spicier note. I think I'm getting some malty notes. I'm getting a little bit of citrus, some cut grass, and the alcohol fumes are hitting my nose. So maybe this is a little higher than, maybe a little higher than 46%. I don't know. Or I'm just digging down in there too deep. Yeah, I'm getting some orange citrus, a little bit of vanilla in there. I'm gonna go ahead for the taste to see if I can wake up some more notes for the nosing. That had a significant burn to it. Very spicy. Yeah, I think the ABV is a little higher on this one. It's definitely got some teeth to it. Yeah, finish keeps going, so it's a pretty long finish. I still am getting some cut grass notes, and I'm still getting some malty notes in here. It's a lot of oak spice for me, which makes me want to consider this maybe a new oak type maturation. And right now what's going through my head is I need to forget about the first 18 days and treat this as a single glass, because I'm being influenced by what was on day 18, what was on day 17. Playing those mind games again. It's hard not to do that, it really is. There's some nice sweetness to this, but it's really sharp and spicy and spiky too. Maybe it's a very young whiskey. It's not too many years in a cask. That spice is really dominant. That's a really nice long finish. And the linger that I'm getting really is like a sherry finish. It's just that kind of darker fruit sweetness that's just oiliness that's saturating my tongue right now. So I really think I have to go with something that has at least some sort of time in a barrel that was used for something else, like wine, port, sherry. I think the only two whiskeys from Scotland in this pack that I didn't guess as Scotch were Scotch. So where do I go with this one? So it really reminds me of a high proof Scotch that's been aged in a sherry or port cask. And those words sound really familiar, so I'm sure I've said those in a previous episode. Okay, I'm just gonna go with the guess that this is a Scotch that has some significant ABV and some pretty impressive finishing in other barrels than just used oak, or maybe it's a fresh oak casking, and then there's also some other finishing cast in there. Let's see what the booklet says. Day 19 is, wow. Okay, this is hilarious because I guessed this whiskey before in a previous episode and I was wrong. And then they stick it in here anyway. This is Sagamore Spirit. It's a straight rye whiskey. It's at 56.1% ABV, so that's what was hitting me so hard. But it doesn't have the standard rye notes that I get. But let's see what other notes they put in here. Spicy, rye, caramel, black pepper, roasted, chocolate, zesty, dark fruits. Yeah, see, that's kind of what's throwing me off. I was getting the dark fruits and I'm thinking there's a finish. This is the cast strength version of the Sagamore Spirit straight whiskey, which I have in my cabinet out there, I believe. I've got a couple Sagamore Spirits. I'm not terribly a fan of rye, but I think Sagamore has some interesting flavors to their ryes that make them more palatable for me, who's not a pure rye guy. And I have to say, you know, I am actually enjoying this cast strength version. It's amazing what you can do to me when I don't like necessarily a rye whiskey, but bump that ABV up enough and suddenly I'm in. I'm on your bandwagon for a whiskey. Do you have any experience with Sagamore Spirit? Any of their expressions? Let me know in the comments what you think about them, any thoughts you have on this particular expression that I'm tasting today, or any thoughts you have about this Advent Calendar series. I certainly love to hear your comments, and I love your support for these 24 days of whiskey. And until tomorrow, day 20, take care of yourself. Take care of those people around you, and cheers. I am enjoying this. I don't enjoy rye most of the time, but some nice notes in here.